Hello, everyone. Welcome back once again to Wrestling IQ 101. I'm here with Andrew.
Yep.
Here with Pat.
Yes, sir.
We're the hosts. You already know we're back again. There's a lot of things going on this week in the wrestling world. What we're going to start off with first, there was an episode of Smackdown that we didn't get to cover last week. We're going to talk about that. Interesting enough, one of the first scenes we get to see that John Cena is back, and he's back on SmackDown. He's ready to never give up again. What you guys think about that?
Cena sucks.
No, I think that the promos that they've been cutting on SmackDown have been great, and actually I think the SmackDown shows have been way better than the Raw shows. Basically, when you think about the promos between AJ, Ambrose, Cena, and Miz, all of them, their promos have been great, and nothing on Raw would even compare to it.
Yeah, definitely. I think SmackDown is that's like the young talent show. I mean, Cena's not young, but the rest of the guys there. I think that's just it's kind of like just how Shane and Daniel say the land of opportunity, kind of. And I feel like we get to see a little bit more of wrestling where on Raw it's more so the promos and things like that. But it's kind of funny thinking about the promos on Raw. But John Cena, he's actually back in the title picture again. He actually was saying that he wanted to be the 16-time champion. And we know who, the GOAT, Ric Flair, he's the 16-time champion. And what do you guys think about John Cena possibly tying and maybe even eventually passing Ric Flair on the all-time championship list?
Well, I don't like it, but it's going to happen. And it's probably going to happen soon.
So you think he's going to tie? Do you think he eventually will pass him?
Yeah, he's going to break it.
Yeah. I think it's a lock. Yeah, I think he's definitely going to.
You got a couple more years of
no
Cena.
Doubt. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just amazing to think, that John Cena, he's won the championship 15 times. To even think of that, it's kind of crazy when you think of like guys like, because you think about he's like the guy of this era, just like Hulk Hogan was his time, Stone Cold at his time. Even though Stone Cold, it was basically him and The Rock at the same time. But if you think about like those guys, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, you think those guys, they didn't even get close to having like those amount of
they each about had like 6 each or something like that.
Yeah, Cena, he had the advantage that no one else was really close to him in this era. Like he's basically the only guy, and then now there's some more talent that's coming up on the tail end of it. It's not the tail end of his career, but more on like the downward turn.
Yeah, true. And I think he really, like, you can see, like, the only guy that was kind of, like, at his level. Well, you got Edge, who, unfortunately had to retire due to injury.
Punk.
And then you had CM Punk. I wouldn't consider him because he doesn't have as many championship rings. He did hold it for a long period of time.
I mean, they could have, but they didn't build them up in those years, too.
Well,
so.
I mean, shoulda, coulda,
well, he's had world heavyweight titles, too. So
at the end of the day, we're talking about the numbers, though. Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
But think about both of those guys, Edge and Punk. Neither one of them had long careers with WWE.
Yeah.
And Orton's up there, too.
And I was going to say Randy Orton. He's the only one. What does he have, 10 times?
He's really the only
10
guy in that time span that you would really
and like
compare.
Batista. What was Batista like?
I don't think he had it double figures. I don't think he's a double figure champion. And probably another guy who you could kind of throw in there, he was kind of like, Attitude Era and a little bit of this era is Triple H. He has 13 championships.
13, yeah.
It's not too many people that are kind of like up there when it comes to that. But it's really like, when you think about it, it's kind of like time flew by.
Now that you mentioned like all those guys in the stable out of Flair, Triple H, Orton,
Batista?
and Batista.
Yeah.
Who would you say has been the best or most successful, most popular? Like, who would you rank them in order?
I mean, me.
Rick.
Yeah.
Triple H. Orton. Batista.
Batista, yeah.
I would I don't know. I mean, it's debatable, but I would put Triple H first. I think just because, his wrestling career, he's not a 16-time champion, but he is a 13-time champion. Then you look at it as what he's done after wrestling. Yeah, he's basically, second to Vince McMahon and running WWE right now.
NXT, he's running NXT too.
And he's running NXT. So I think as far as like a success standpoint, I think I would put Triple H first, Ric Flair, Randy Orton, then I'll put Batista.
Rick's a 2-time Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Triple H's career isn't over yet. You got to think about that too.
It's gonna last basically forever.
Triple H
didn't have to carry the company. Ric Flair carried the NWA and WCW.
I don't know. It's kind of tough. Those are like different times. But
against Hogan,
but you got to think about it like this. If we're sticking to the question is as far as who we think is more successful. Successful, I think it's Triple H. I don't think Ric Flair is in this. I think Ric Flair is second to Triple H when it comes to that. And if you think about it too, when Triple H, when he finally does decide to finally retire, Triple H will go into the Hall of Fame by himself, and he will probably go into the Hall of Fame as a member of DX2. Him and Shawn Michaels.
What about Evolution?
He'll be a 2. No, Evolution.
Ric Flair 3-time.
Evolution won't go, but definitely he'll probably go on there as a 2.
Evolution was a great stable.
Evolution was a great stable.
Would you put Evolution over the Four Horsemen?
No.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Well, what variation of the Horsemen? Because there's been a couple.
I mean,
I think the original is the best.
Yeah, well, that's what I said, the original one.
I would say the original was probably the best, but
Ole and Tully.
The 4 Horsemen I know
Benoit,
Dean Malenko, Mongo McMichael, and Ric Flair. And Arn Anderson was like their manager or something.
Yeah, right.
That's the 4 Horsemen I know. So
come on, there's like Paul Roma, Brian Pillman.
That's like when you tell guys.
It's the bootleg version.
That's like when you tell guys and you're like, oh yeah, those 75 Celtics were great. And you're like, but yeah, I bet they were, but I never watched none of their games. I can't.
Come on, that Barry Windham, Lex Luger.
Yeah, they were good. They were good. But so let's kind of like dig into that.
Hashtag beat up Sting.
let's kind of dig into that segment with John Cena. He actually, he came out and he actually was cutting a promo on Dean Ambrose, and he kind of said like what we were talking about last week about Dean Ambrose, which is kind of funny, where he said that he thinks Dean Ambrose fell off after being called out on the Stone Cold podcast. What do you guys think about that? I mean, it's pretty spot on what I was saying last week.
It's ironic that you're just talking about that. And, I mean, I said it last week that, I think Ambrose is better at chasing the title. And I agree that, it became stale and boring once he got it, that they kind of didn't know what to do with him. But what do you think?
Yeah, they didn't really know what to do with him, but I don't think that's his fault. His ring work has been good. His promos have been good. The problem was the feud got a late start. They had 4 weeks to build it. They didn't get to see each other until the last 2. Not really his fault. I think it was the booking problem. The feud before that was good with the Shield. His chase to the lead, to the title was good. Even now, it's been pretty good. Now that he's chasing it again. But as champion, I thought he did a good job. The matches were solid. I can't complain about those. The one match that was pretty, still a good match, SummerSlam. We talked about that against Dolph Ziggler. And there's the flip side of that too, where Dean Ambrose pretty much said John Cena's a part-timer now.
Yeah.
So, which I agree with. He's doing American Grit Season 2. He's flying out to do Good Morning America every day, feels like. He missed the first pay-per-view for Smackdown, which, John Cena never misses a pay-per-view unless he's hurt.
Yeah.
So I think the writing is on there. I think he nailed it on the head. John Cena is a part-timer
to me.
I
like that they're doing more, like, personal and real promos, like it doesn't seem like it's so scripted. It seems like they're actually like real, like the ones with the Miz, the ones between AJ and Dean, the ones between AJ and Cena especially, and now these ones with Cena and Dean, like they seem like things that I would say if I was getting into it with you, you know what I mean? Like they seem like they're really getting personal, you know, like kayfabe is kind of like blurring the line a little bit.
Yeah, they're actually like, you know, things that we're thinking, they're actually
saying.
They're saying them now.
Yeah,
and you know, and then kind of just to go back a little bit to the John Cena thing. I mean, John Cena, he's kind of like at his point in his career where he's basically done everything that you can do. He's probably, you know, I know probably all of those guys would probably trade their career if they could take John Cena's career and, you know, all the accomplishments that he's achieved. So, I mean, he's kind of at the point where you would kind of expect him to be right now. I mean, you know, he's the face. What did he usually do? The Rock, you know, he did the same thing. He branched off. He went to Hollywood, you know, started doing all these things. I mean, you got to kind of think of it as a career aspect. You got to look at what are you going to do after wrestling is done. So I think, you know, I think that's a good thing that John Cena is actually doing that. The only thing that I would say is kind of, you know, a little bit hypocritical of him is that he basically called out The Rock during their whole feud at WrestleMania for doing the same exact thing that he's doing right now. Maybe he, you know, sees it clearer now and he understands. Oh, now I understand why The Rock is doing this. You can't wrestle forever. Time is going to beat you eventually.
Oh, that's true. But The Rock did leave for 8 years. John Cena still shows up every couple months now, it feels like.
Yeah, I mean...
Where The Rock did that for the first part of his movie career, where he left, filmed the movie, came back, left again, came back as a bad guy. So John Cena, I mean, well, he got hurt. That didn't help either last year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see if he stays a little bit longer this year.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you know, just think that, you know, at this point in his career, you know, it's a good decision for him. And if we're, you know, kind of comparing, like, you know, what Cena kind of said to what Ambrose kind of said, I mean, this is where you expect John Cena to be. So it's kind of like, you know, it's not really too much of a personal thing. But I think I would rather be John Cena at his point in his career, you know. Yeah, I am a part-timer because, you know, I've been here for all these years. I'm a 15-time champion. You know, I've accomplished so much. But you're here trying to get to where I'm at. And you should be going 10 times harder than I am. And I mean, it's a funny thing that, you know, when we talked about Dean Ambrose, it was just me and you having a conversation and Pat having a conversation. It wasn't even really like, you know, something that was on the dirt sheets or anything like that we were looking at.
Exactly.
And then, you know, John Cena just comes out of nowhere and says the same thing. So it kind of makes you think, are the guys in WWE and upper management, are they thinking the same thing? Are the other wrestlers thinking the same thing? Because, you know, John Cena he spit the same thing out of his mouth that I was saying last week.
Also, they kind of had to say that because he needs a feud to make the feud interesting. So
it's pretty ironic that it happens.
Yeah, it is ironic.
It's pretty ironic.
Just, maybe they listen to us.
Yeah. maybe that is what it is.
Yeah, we got to do easier.
Definitely. Moving on. We were talking about, you know, how they're putting like reality into it. Miz actually cut, you know, another great promo. Same thing, you know, that we expect from the Miz. He always cuts great promos. He did one with Ziggler. He even put, you know, reality into his promo as well, just like he did with, you know, Daniel Bryan's promo, you know, a couple weeks back. You know, basically when he told Dolph Ziggler his career was 6 feet under, you know, basically, you know, that's another thing that's, you know, it's kind of true, and it's probably something that, you know, it's kind of hurt Dolph Ziggler a little bit. But you can see, like, they're going with this reality thing, and I guess this is going to be the reality.
I like it a lot better this way, though. Like, and to me, I don't think Ziggler really had any plays going for the main title with Ambrose, and that, I think, also killed a lot of the momentum that you were talking about before. But it also makes me wonder, like, are they giving them a lot more freedom in their promos to let them talk on their own more, or is this just the way that they're writing it? You know, what do you think?
I think The Miz is on fire.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
And I think they found their niche, how to write promos. I think it took a while. I think they are writing them still. I don't think they're letting them letting them do their own thing, because it's a $1 billion company and Vince is micromanaging everything still. So I don't see them letting off the range on the promo part. Yeah, I mean they're getting better, the promos. I feel like the promos are solid, especially on SmackDown. The Raw ones are a little kind of confusing. So, but SmackDown's killing it, I think.
Yeah, and I mean the promos themselves. I mean, it's kind of like, just like we said, like it's like it's reality, and it's kind of like things that you would say yourself. So it's like when you actually, being a long time wrestling fan, when you actually hear someone say something that's like, kind of touches home, and that, is like outside of a storyline or like going on in their real life, you're kind of like, ooh, you're like, yeah, that's like, that's
juicy.
Good. And you're just like, wow. And then it kind of gets, people talking, because it makes you think like, wait a minute, was he supposed to say that? Exactly. Or did he just decide to like, say his own thing? So that's why, it makes it a little bit more interesting for sure.
Yeah.
And another thing too, we'll go on to the next one. We won't dwell on, Miz and Ziggler too long. But Shane McMahon, he was in the opening segment that went on with the World Heavyweight Championship. Daniel Bryan was involved in the Miz segment when he basically made the IC title match. So
and the tag title.
So once again, we're back at this point where Shane and Daniel said the show is about the wrestlers. It's not about them. But once again, all we're seeing, Shane McMahon, Daniel Bryan
agreeing
on TV, agreeing more and more every week. So my question, which I'm pretty sure is a rhetorical question, are we seeing too much of Shane, and are we seeing too much of Daniel on SmackDown?
Yes. 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 Yes.
Yes. I mean, that's. I'm pretty sure that's pretty obvious. But it's like
they get great reactions.
They do.
That's why they're on SmackDown together.
They get good pops.
And people are tuning in to see them.
Mm-hmm.
But Mick Foley is coming out like every 2 minutes on Raw.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And like, I'm sick of seeing him.
Yeah, I feel like they should these guys have to take a back seat. Whoever is in creative needs to stop involving them in the storylines. I don't know. They just need to get cut out, and let's actually let the promos do it. Let's let the matches do it. Let's, I feel like a part of it could be what we talked about, is that the rosters are so thin on each side that they use them as time fillers. And they use them, for entertainment purpose.
Yeah, I think the cruiserweights are going to help that a lot too, in that aspect, that it'll take up more airtime. I just hope that they'll actually give them the time to develop their own stories, develop real matches, and not just cut them off and give them 3 minutes like they used to do with the Divas. But I just don't want to see them keep throwing Foley out there, keep throwing Stephanie out there, and not do this for here's another squash match, but the same sort of thing, Well,
yeah, definitely. And I feel like the cruiserweights, having them, you got to think too. The cruiserweights are only going to Raw, so that'll probably help Raw with alleviating. Well, you should look at Raw first, because they got 3 hours to fill.
Yep.
But I feel like on SmackDown we're still going to be seeing we're still going to be seeing Shane, and we're still going to be seeing Daniel. No matter what.
I mean, the good thing about SmackDown too is that they don't have as much time as they do fill on Raw. So their minutes go a little bit longer on Raw. Their storytelling, their promos, Foley and Stephanie.
Yeah.
SmackDown, you got to think they only got 2 hours, so they got to find a way to cut those down a little bit. Mm-hmm. And they've been doing that. It's just they're out there a lot.
Yeah.
Every commercial break,
every segment they're out there. They're involved in the championship segment. they're involved in, the IC segment, Miz and Daniel Bryan, we don't know where that's going, if it's going to go to an eventual match or whatever, but they still keep going at it back and forth, That's we're just getting tired of seeing them. It's time for them to get off. And so, there's been some other stuff going on too in the wrestling world. One of the big things I think that came out from this week was that WWE actually put in a bid to buy TNA Impact Wrestling. That was very shocking. I was pretty surprised because I feel like WWE doesn't give TNA the time of day, but it was kind of interesting. It's, as a wrestling fan, it's kind of exciting because you kind of think of the whole WCW ECW invasion thing, and you wish you could relive something like that over again. And I think it would be great if WWE actually does purchase TNA.
I think some guys will come to the main roster, like Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, EC3. I think a lot of guys are going to be pushed.
Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes, if he goes back, if he signs with TNA, he'll go back to the main roster. I think a lot of guys will be relegated to NXT. And I think it's a good idea because that will really fill up a roster if they buy somebody else's roster.
Yeah. And I think that's why they're really looking to do that. Is they know they need wrestlers on their roster right now.
So imagine guys like Moose and Matt Bennett in NXT, because I don't think they're going to the main roster yet.
Nah.
I think Brodus Clay will go back to the main roster.
As a wrestler?
Yeah, as a wrestler. Okay. Like I said, EC3 I could see going back there, the Hardy Boys. Maybe even Abyss going to it because he's a little bit older and he's been wrestling for a while. Of like how AJ came in Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows.
Yeah.
So I could see some guys go into NXT, a lot of the younger guys like Mahabali Shera, Grado.
I don't even think WWE will waste their time with Grado, to be honest.
If they have him under contract, they're just going to take him anyway.
Yeah.
So... And why not? I mean, why not put him on NXT? He gets a huge pop. I saw a couple of days ago. I saw him. He got a huge pop. People love him.
I mean, I guess he's like another Santino Marella.
Yeah, they need something like that too to break up the monotony on Raw.
He's like Santino Marella, but not as good as Santino Marella. Santino Marella is actually funny.
Yeah.
I feel like Grado. If you even look at it, TNA recently, they haven't even been using Grado that much themselves. So I can.
He was on this week.
Rarely see him getting used, and
he got beat up by Lashley.
Yeah, he got in a squash match with Lashley. I rarely see him.
But there's some other guys too. I could see going down there, like the Bromance.
Yeah, of course.
DK.
Okay.
So there, I could see Gail Kim if she stays with TNA.
Yeah.
Going up to the main roster. Some of their other knockouts floating in between NXT. I can see Rockstar Spud in NXT.
And the funny thing is, a lot of these people, they either signed with WWE because WWE either didn't want them or they didn't want to go to WWE.
Yeah.
And then now, if WWE purchased them, they're going to be going back. And I think WWE, they can capitalize on guys that they actually let go that actually went and became good. Yeah. EC3 is like the shining example of, what could have been. And
Drew McIntyre, too.
Drew McIntyre as well. I think he had a lot of potential, and I think they kind of let him get lost in the shuffle. And now, if he comes back, he can kind of prove himself. And he could seriously be a main eventer for those guys. He's doing a great job.
There's only one drawback I could see is that, like you were talking about, EC3 got a chance to shine. Drew Galloway's. Now there's one less TV show with 2 hours, and that's the only drawback to it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But there's still Lucha Underground. New Japan's on TV. You could probably find ROH on TV or online. Mm-hmm. So you can still find stuff online, but the 2 hour show kind of hurts them losing another 2 hour show for the wrestlers. For WWE, it's another thing they could put on their network.
Yeah.
They could put TNA pay-per-views on all their network. They could merchandise off the Hardy Boys again. You know, so
you think Broken Matt would they'll keep that? I feel like they would change it.
I don't know. I think he would come back as just regular Matt Hardy.
I mean, I wish
it's been such a long time too that he's been gone from WWE.
Yeah, they don't use like characters like that.
The thing is, for me, I feel like
people love it.
If you gotta use that right now. You think about it when even WWE crowds they're chanting delete. I think you have to like build off of that.
It's so hot,
and you gotta like let them come back. Even if, maybe you put them in a rivalry with Bray Wyatt or something. I don't know, but you kind of make it, interesting. You bring them back, and I think fans will actually love that.
First, they gotta see who they have really under contract,
who can actually come, and who's actually signed before. I understand.
That's the reason why they signed people, so they had intellectual property, so they have something to sell TNA.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not worth much.
And I think what I think would be really interesting. Is because now you're setting up, you got your cruiserweights on Raw. I think it would be really awesome if they had the X division on SmackDown. Yeah. And that can help fill out the SmackDown,
That'd be interesting,
That'd be very interesting. It's basically like,
it's the same thing, but different name.
Same thing, different name, yeah.
Yeah, I got that. That's a good idea.
That'd be pretty great if you had that on
If they keep the slogan of the X Division too. Like no height limit, no weight limit, no anything. Anything goes in that division. But we all knew that was a light heavyweight cruiserweight division. Yeah. The only guy that really got a real break in that really wasn't a cruiserweight was like Joe.
Samoa Joe, yep. Exactly.
And maybe Lashley as a recent, but he didn't really defend the title. Joe went out every week, made that title relevant. So did AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels.
And even if they decide to bring back, whatever their light heavyweight title, whatever, Tasha Minoka.
Yeah.
I can't even say his name right. But
Christian.
Christian. They could bring back
X-Pac.
Bring back that, X-Pac.
Jerry Lynn.
Yeah, they can bring that back and maybe make it into their own thing, but
they had some good lightweight champions. It's just nothing ever really came from that.
Definitely.
I thought TNA they had good women's division. And they had good matches like WWE, they don't use those. NXT, they started using those kinds of matches. They had the cage match. Now they do the triple threat match because they actually have the talent in WWE now. But they have all those good matches in the TNA in the women's division.
Yeah, they let the women wrestle there.
Yeah,
they had good women wrestlers from the beginning. Even now, they have some really good wrestlers. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Half of them need to still find their character. When they branch over, if they do branch over, that's what NXT will do for them. Like Bobby Roode. Yeah. Bobby Roode already had a good character. Mm-hmm. They just embellished it now with the Glorious song. Yeah. They really found Bobby Roode.
Yeah, definitely. And I just think, I always said, I always used to say, I always thought TNA had, better talent and they had, better wrestlers. But I just thought that WWE had better storylines. And it made you more, entertainment.
I think I don't think you could say that anymore. I think
WWE right now, but
has great talent.
Was there, they got all the TNA guys.
Well, not only that, but they got their own homegrown talent that are just really good, and the ROH guys they kind of raided from everybody.
I think TNA's storylines are non-existent.
Now they're bad. But
they interweave with each other. They've been bad for a while.
Yeah.
When they first started, they were good.
Yeah.
That was back in 2002. 2003. And storylines made sense. And then as soon as they got the main event mafia and people started tangling up with each other, they brought in Hogan and Bischoff. Yeah. You're like, what the hell is going on in this place?
WCW 2.0 all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, from a standpoint when, it was, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Frank Kazarian, Christopher Daniels, Motor City Machine Guns. That's the TNA. When I say TNA and I'm talking about talent,
well, that was still ROH.
That's the time. It was called TNA Impact Wrestling.
Yeah, but Daniels were going. ROH. Those guys were still in ROH. So.
But if you think about it from now, WWE is basically taking everybody else's talent right now.
Oh yeah, they're rating. Yeah, it's almost like the '80s again.
Yeah, so NXT is basically is doing now what ROH and TNA been doing.
Yeah.
That's what I think. And that's why at that time I was always saying, TNA has, better talent. That's what I thought.
Yeah, they had the ball on talent. They've always had good talent.
Yeah. So,
just putting them out there with characters and storylines, they've never.
Yeah. So my question now too is, if WWE buys TNA, do you do the whole invasion angle again, or do you just bring in the guys and just debut them? Like, what do you think?
It's not big enough.
Yeah,
it's not big enough.
TNA, I wouldn't do it just because with WCW there was the whole war, the Monday Night Wars, and they had a following, a huge following. I mean, TNA has its own following, but I mean, they're lucky to get 400,000 people to watch it a week. You know what I mean?
And when they took over for WCW, they didn't even get the big stars either. Yeah. They missed the boat on everybody because everyone was still sitting at home getting paid.
Yeah, exactly.
So I wouldn't do that again because, again, you don't know who really is under TNA management. Yeah. Some people have like a contract where they could do other shows and stuff like that. So you got to really look at who is in the main core of people that you can take over. I think what you do is you start bringing them back and putting them on, some people, not all of them, on Raw and Smackdown to fill out those rosters, and the other half you blend into NXT somehow.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing about NXT because every week there's somebody new showing up, I feel like.
Yeah.
Even if they get squashed, it's still a new face.
My thing is too, which I kind of thought of, if this does actually happen and it does go through, you could even use this to play on, the whole Triple H NXT, and you could kind of like put all the TNA guys, just filter them into NXT, and because since they're thinking of the NXT invasion, so you don't kill the NXT invasion, but you shy away from the TNA invasion, but you give him some credible guys that can come in and that can actually stand up, and that makes it believable. Oh, these guys actually can beat, the Raw guys. They can beat the SmackDown guys.
I still think they already have credibility with Samoa Joe and Austin Aries and Nakamura.
Well, I mean, to the average fan, if you're seeing that, if you're looking at Samoa Joe, you're looking at Austin Aries, you're looking at Bobby Roode there. Since Nakamura, I don't know if he'll really be involved in it or what type of how he would play into NXT.
Well, I think he has to be in the angle. He's the champion.
Well, I mean, yeah, but
it's kind of like they didn't have like a world champion in the alliance or something like that. It doesn't make sense.
Even with him, if you're a general fan, do you really think like those guys are coming in and beating Randy Orton, beating John Cena, who never loses to anybody?
Why? Because Kevin Owens did it. And he was an NXT champion. He was in NXT.
But that's a whole different thing, though. And then
he was established as the champion in NXT and everything.
Even if you look at it like this, Sami Zayn came in through the whole U.S. Championship. But when Kevin Owens came out, can you say 100% honestly you believed that night he was going to beat John Cena? No. You didn't think it. No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It makes it more believable if you filtering these guys. You put Bobby Lashley with them. You put EC3 with them. You put Drew Galloway with them. Cody Rhodes if he possibly goes. Now you're starting to think, these guys are kind of like, they're really getting stacked with some veterans, not, new talent. And then you start to think like NXT can possibly beat these guys.
Do you think that if TNA does come over, considering also all the promos they have against WWE and everything, and Triple H's history of squashing like all the WCW people, do you think they'll treat the TNA talent poorly when they come?
No, because they haven't.
It's a different time. They need them.
They haven't. They haven't buried AJ Styles. They made Samoa Joe the NXT champion. Austin Aries been in a good feud ever since he's got up there. So I don't see them burying anybody. Even Nakamura, who came from Japan, he's the champion.
Yeah, that's different.
They're not burying anybody. I don't think from another company anymore. I think they put that.
You have to look at it too from a different perspective. WCW and WWF, WWE were like in a real war.
It was competition, yeah.
Like it was real competition.
TNA is not competition. They get like 1 million viewers every week. They're barely touching the surface
Can you even think of like any like real legit promos that TNA did against WWE or WWE even paying attention to TNA at all?
They do promos against WWE like all the time. They do it just to get.
I saw something a couple years ago. RVD was like the TNA champion, and he was in the airport. And they said, "Oh yeah, how do you like being retired?" He's like, "Retired? I'm TNA champion." People didn't even know that RVD was still wrestling for another company, and then he came back to WWE, and he was the most over guy for a couple months there. He was facing Del Rio when he came the second time he came back.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I think TNA kind of like WWE finally got on board with them. I mean, there was like a unspoken rumor that Vince McMahon didn't like TNA guys, but I think you can kind of see that. Well, obviously, it's changed, but you can see that TNA has kind of also become like a ring of honor for WWE because they're getting good guys there.
Yeah,
and I kind of hate that they got guys like Austin Aries and Joe and Bobby Roode and AJ being older now than when they really could have been putting on some great matches, even though they're still killing.
And the thing too is, even when Vince was buying out his competition in the 80s, he took a lot of guys from like the AWA and he made them stars.
Yeah.
Hogan, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Shawn Michaels, Mario Jannetty. I mean, he could have squashed those guys from other territories, but instead he embellished them, made them superstars. And he did it for all the other companies. He made Ric Flair the champion twice. Yep. When he took him from WCW, he even made Lex Luger, even though nothing really panned out with that one. So there's been guys from other companies that have come to the WWE and they've made bigger stars. Yeah. And of course, there's people that have come from different companies, and the WWE have bombarded them with losing and jobber, status.
Yeah, I think
it just depends who it is.
I think at the end of the day, Vince McMahon, he's a smart businessman.
He's a promoter.
I think he will always put the business before his personal feelings in a situation. I think.
How many times have you forgiven people who hurt him?
A lot of people. He brought Austin back when Austin
Hogan
down on him. He brought Hogan back. He brought Ric Flair. How many times has he been back? All those guys when
Dusty
he went to
Rhodes.
TNA, McFoley went to TNA, brought him back. Dusty Rhodes, Sting, Goldberg. If he wants to come back, I'm pretty sure. And then eventually CM Punk will be back as well too, and they'll fix that and work on it. Brock Lesnar too, you can throw his name in there too.
Yeah, Brock Lesnar really had a legitimate problem with them.
And Vince McMahon, I think he's smart enough.
He sued him.
He puts the business first. He doesn't. Worry about, personal, beefs and everything like that with people.
Well, he doesn't have anything to worry about. He's
a dirty.
Yeah,
exactly. More money, more problems, trust me. All right, on to the next subject. We got something that we also heard of. Could be, a rumor. Could be serious. You never know. But there's been talks of The Shield reuniting since Seth Rollins, I guess you can consider him a face now. So do you guys think that is actually in the works, that it could possibly happen? And do you think it's too soon?
I think it is way too soon. I mean, they just broke up, a year ago? 2 years? I mean, it's been 2 years. It's not time. I think, if anything, you'd have to give it at least 5 more years. In my opinion,
you want to go 5 more?
Yeah, 5 more years.
These guys want to be wrestling.
5 more years. I'm loving Rollins, his solo act, man. I think Roman, as he's turning face, Roman's turning more heel. You know what I mean? And then Ambrose is still kind of in his.
Dean Ambrose is in an island of his own. You don't know if he's not really a good guy. He's not really a bad guy, but people love to cheer for him. He always gets a good reaction whenever we see him.
Yeah. That's the thing.
Personally, I love the Shield. I thought it was one of the best factions ever. Mm-hmm. Especially good for Roman because he got to really learn from two of the best.
Yeah.
So I don't want to see them get together again. And plus, they're on 2 different shows. I don't want to see the 2 shows already get intertwined with each other.
Nah.
I think Jack Swagger already appearing on Smackdown was a little too much myself. So I don't want. I think keeping the roster split is definitely the key. Up maybe until WrestleMania, And then you can have a Raw guy versus SmackDown guy.
Yeah.
Keep them separate. Let them actually build up their own storylines. I think that will help elevate both shows.
Yeah, I just think that I think those three guys, I think they're just like at the point where they're like so big. It's like
they're stars on their own.
Why put them back in a group together? At least right now, eventually, everybody gets back together. DX, Four Horsemen, NWO, whatever. But I think at this time, that I think it's too early. I think with Ambrose, I feel like they're kind of working on him being a heel a little bit. I don't know what's kind of going on. Just like you said, he's kind of like in his own aisle. He's like beating up good guys, he's beating up bad guys. He doesn't care. He's just beating up everybody. And then Roman. I mean, they should make him heel, but I mean, I feel like they're probably not going to do it anytime soon. And
John Cena syndrome.
And then now Seth, he's a face now. So, I mean, it kind of messes up all of their individual stories too. Like with Roman, pursuing the U.S. title, Seth Rollins being in the World Heavyweight title picture. That
Universal.
messes that up, the Universal title picture. And then Dean Ambrose, doing what he's doing with AJ Styles and John Cena over there. It's like, why are you putting those guys together?
Yeah.
Like for what? There's no reason to put those guys together.
There was also no reason to break them up when they did. They were so popular.
But that was more for shock value. That makes sense to get people.
That's like New Day. That's what's gonna happen in New Day.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure when they break up, it's gonna come out of nowhere. You won't even expect it.
I want to see Seth start the feud with Triple H. I want to see them start going at it.
Yeah.
And have that be the WrestleMania match. And
Seth and Triple H.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then how you got to work on that too as well. So it's kind of like, what do you just dead all your storylines and just go into some new storylines
and stuff that doesn't even make sense. Yeah.
It won't make sense, but I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, either way, if it happens, if it doesn't, if it happens, I'll still think it's cool.
Some good merchandise will come from.
I love seeing those guys together, but I don't think it's gonna happen. At least not soon. But WWE never say never, right?
Start breaking out the tactical vest and cargo pants.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would definitely be cool. Let's see. On to our next subject. The WWE recently fired Paige, and then rehired Paige.
I don't think they fired her. They were thinking about firing her.
They were thinking about firing her. So
this has been lingering for
for a while.
Months.
Yeah, so they want to get rid of her.
She's a little troublemaker.
They don't want to get rid of her. Me personally,
they don't use her anyway.
Yeah. Me personally, you're not using her. I think she's more harm to the company than she is good. I mean, are you really going to put her out there? Like, to do what? Like, what are you going to do? Are you really trusting her to cut promos? What are you going to have her get squashed? Like, it doesn't make sense. It's like, just let her out.
Well, she's also been having some nagging injuries.
Yeah.
So she was plagued by injuries. The suspension didn't help her out either.
Del Rio.
The Del Rio situation doesn't really favor her. Plus, it's one less person on the roster right now. That's already thin if they let her go.
Yeah.
And she has a name, and she has a reaction, so people know who she is. She's on Total Divas. So I don't think they want to let her go. And sometimes it's better to keep somebody on the payroll for a little bit and let them kind of forget about them, because sometimes some people have good drawing power, like Cody Rhodes. He's working the indies. He's doing a really good job. Yeah. Just on drawing power with his name. So I can't see them letting her go without maybe tarnishing that a little bit.
She does have like a good following, especially when it comes to those teenage girls. I know they
oh yeah. She has good merchandise numbers too.
Yeah, and that can go to like what we were just talking about. Vince McMahon, he's a good businessman. And at the end of the day, maybe he'll just, he'll let her sit and, he'll think, yeah, we're going to work this out.
Yeah.
And he'll get it done. And, she'll come and
if he doesn't,
because she is a big name. The girls love her. She's like.
And she has a multi-year contract too. Mm-hmm. So I don't think she wants to breach that. I don't think they want to breach that. I think they just want to kind of get by the next couple of years. You know, I'm sure, and she's been known to have problems. Yeah. You know, she's getting like thrown out of restaurants and stuff.
She's young. She's a young girl.
Yeah, and I think they realized that maybe they picked her up too young.
Yeah, she's still growing up. What is she like? What 22, 23 right now?
Yeah, so like believe me, I wasn't an angel at that age either, and I don't think any of us were. I still don't think we are. So. You know, she has some growing up to do. I think that's part of the reason why they've decided not to tarnish her already.
Yeah.
Because it's a hard thing to redeem yourself after you've burned so many bridges. You know, so especially when you're that young. And then if she has to go back, 10 years later and be like, oh, I'm sorry. I think that they'll forgive her. I think they'll still be a little weary. Yeah. But like Shawn Michaels, he was such an asshole.
Yeah.
And he came back like 4 years later and he was a different person.
Yeah.
So that's where I think where Paige is at right now. She's a different person she's a different person from where she's going to be in a couple of years.
Yeah, gotcha. So I guess we'll start wrapping it up. We're about at the 46-minute mark. We'll try to keep it short this week. It was our first episode last week. You know, we're a little excited to get going and we kind of went a little overboard. But we're going to one of our few last questions. My question to you guys. Right now, we know Raw, we know Smackdown. Who do you guys think is the top heel in WWE right now? I'm going to give you an option. It's either Kevin Owens or AJ Styles. Who do you think is the top bad guys right now? They're both the champions right now as well.
I was going to say the Miz, but, you know.
I was gonna say you could put the Miz in there. He could be, you know, honorable mention.
Between those two, between the two champs, one on SmackDown, one on Raw, I'm Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins are actually my two favorite guys in the whole WWE. Mm-hmm. But on this, I'm going to have to actually side with AJ Styles.
AJ Styles.
I'm going to go with Pat. I think AJ really nails the face that runs the place persona. Uh-huh. I think that he took the trophy metaphor from Dean Ambrose promo like 2-3 weeks ago and really drove that home. So AJ, he's the man. He's phenomenal.
He definitely is. If I'm going with him, I think it's going to be unanimous. I'm going to go with AJ Styles as well. I just think, when he first came over, I was so excited that he came because I knew as far as talent, I knew how good of a wrestler he was, and I knew he was a great wrestler. But then, when he first came over, it was like, it was a big pop for him, when he came out at the Royal Rumble. And then I felt like it kind of went a little stale. He wasn't talking as much. Then when they switched him and they made him a heel, it was like he was on fire. Yeah. And his promos right now are great. I think, he's got like a serious winning streak going. I think making him the champion was the best move that they have done in a while. Yeah. I think Kevin Owens' championship was more for shock value, but I think AJ Styles, he's like all around. He's the guy you want as your champion, and he's really killing it with the whole promo, the face that runs the place thing. That's freaking like just amazing. I'm loving that.
I agree. Yeah, I think KO deserved that title, but AJ, when he started out, I thought he was great in the ring, and I was like, he's coming out to talk again. Yeah. Because I hated him when he was talking, and then he was the face at the time, and then he was the Jericho, the Y2AJ thing. Yeah. And then as a face, I just didn't like it. And then all of a sudden, once they turned him heel, like you said, he was like one of my favorite guys on the roster. I loved it.
I liked when he came as a face.
Oh, I hated it.
I thought it was good because people were ragging on him, and they were calling him a redneck rookie, and I'm like, he's not a rookie. Yeah. Right. And I like the fact that he didn't talk at first. It made him more mysterious to me. So I thought that was good. Now he just proved wherever he goes, the cream always rises, and so does AJ.
So that's another TNA guy who had a shot with WWE. They let him go, and then he made himself into a superstar around the world.
Yeah,
so that was great.
That's bound to happen with our guys.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so now we're gonna wrap it up. We got one thing we're going to do. We talked about this last week. We said we were going to do our predictions for the Clash of Champions. We got what we have right now. There's 5 solid matches, really 4 solid matches, but we know Rusev and Roman Reigns is going to happen. So we got 5 solid matches that we're going to make predictions on. If anything pops up while, during the week that they add on to it, maybe tonight they add a match on, we'll consider it. And we'll just do it individually. We'll add it to this and count it towards the tally. But we're going to play our game. It's going to be called Champ or Fired. And you will have to either be the champ
or set on fire.
It's going to be John Cena. He's going to be saying, the champ is here. Or you're going to get a "you're fired" from Vince McMahon. It's one or the other. All right? So that's the game. We're going to make our predictions. Pat, you're up first. First match, we got Sami Zayn and Y2J, the Gift of Jericho.
All right. Well, Christmas is not coming early this year because I'm going with the underdog from the underground, Sami Zayn.
Nice. All right. Match number 2. It's the ladies, Charlotte versus Sasha Banks versus Bayley.
All right. Well, I am going to go with the boss on this one, Sasha Banks.
Oh, Sasha Banks, that's not a bad pick. You got the tag team titles. You got the New Day versus the Club.
I'm gonna go with the Bullet Club, dropping New Day here.
Dropping the deuce.
Yep.
Dropping the deuce.
Or the trace.
And we have Rusev, who we're assuming is going to be defending the United States title against Roman Reigns.
Rusev Machka. Roman Reigns is going down.
And then we got our main event. We got KO defending the title against Seth Rollins.
Now this one's a heartbreaker for me, but I'm gonna say KO wins in a fishy finish, like a undecided finish.
She got
a dirty finish.
Yeah.
He's calling it a dirty finish. All right, we got Drew coming up now. We got you, Sami Zayn versus Chris Jericho. Who you going with?
I think Sammy.
You gonna go with Sami Zayn on that one? Charlotte, Sasha Banks, Bayley. Who you got?
I like Bayley to win.
It's a tough one. I think WWE thinks you want Bayley to win.
I think they want. Yeah. I hate for them to kill her momentum. She just got up there. But I gotta go with Charlotte.
You go Charlotte? Nice. The New Day versus the Club. Tag team titles on the line.
The winner gets a timeshare in Puerto Rico.
I guess I'll go with the Club. I really gotta watch these matches to pick them.
The Club. All right, and we got Rusev defending that U.S. title against Roman Reigns.
I think Rusev, but I don't think he'll lose the title. Oh, sorry, Roman.
Roman, okay.
But I don't think Rusev will lose the title.
So he'll win like some type of disqualification or something like that. Got you. Main event, KO, Seth Rollins.
KO.
He's
the longest running Universal Champion, so.
Of all time, yeah.
All time.
Can't beat that.
And he's best friends with Chris Jericho.
That's right.
All right. So we got the first match. My predictions now. We got Sami Zayn taking on Chris Jericho. The Gift of Jericho. Want him to win so much, but history says that Jericho loses this match. So I'm going to go with Sami Zayn on that one. Charlotte, Sasha Banks, and Bayley. This is a very, very tough match. This is probably the most unpredictable match of the night.
Let's go with Bayley.
Bayley, I feel like, has a big wave right now that they could give her the title. Sasha Banks lost her title due to injury, so I feel like she kind of deserves to get her title back. Charlotte, she's just a champion. She is consistent. That's one thing you can't say about her. But I think she loses the title, starts her little rivalry with Dana Brooke, and I'm going to go with Bayley getting the title.
I think that's good too. I think
we'll go with Bayley getting the title.
Dana and Charlotte are bound to happen.
Yeah, you can even do a couple great matches with Bayley and Sasha there.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. The New Day, the Club. Sad to say, it's time for the New Day to go their new way, and I think that the Club
Watch, we're all gonna get that one wrong.
The power of negativity. All of us picked against them.
The club wins the tag team titles. That's what I think, and I think you start off some great feuds. The club taking on Enzo and Cass. I think that's the next big thing to come right now. Rusev defending the U.S. title against Roman Reigns. Last match they had didn't even get started. Rusev is on such a hot streak right now. He gets a lot of heat. I think Rusev, he wins the match. He retains the U.S. title. Something happens. I don't know what's going to happen, but something happens. Rusev, he wins the match.
Roman can't lose clean.
I think
I don't.
Win somehow.
Yeah, I can see somebody just coming in and
maybe start Roman's next feud or something.
Yeah,
like
just so he can go on. No, I don't think it's Big Show.
All right, main event.
Virgil. Wrestling superstar Virgil.
Yeah. Main event, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, KO. He's had the title for like a week. He's not losing it. At least not now. He's not losing it right now.
So what are the results here?
So the results, we all agree on Sami Zayn. Oh, look at that. The women's match, we all went with different women. Wow. You got Pat has Sasha, Drew has Charlotte, I have Bayley. We all unanimous with the club. We're all unanimous with KO. Yeah. Rusev is picked by me and Pat, and Drew thinks that Roman is gonna win. He doesn't think he'll be the champion, but he thinks he's gonna win. Yeah. But that's it for this week.
Take care.
Thanks for listening.
See you soon.
See you next week. We'll keep dropping some stuff for you. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Wrestling IQ101.
Send us any emails.
Send us emails.
At WrestlingIQ101 or on Facebook. We also have a page.
Yep.
You can follow us individually too if you like.
Yep. So. And you can definitely you can check this out. You can listen to this on YouTube. Or you can even listen to us on SoundCloud now. Just search us, Wrestling IQ 101. However you want to do it. You listen to us in the morning, listen to us at night, go to sleep with us in your dreams.
I do it.
You can watch us on YouTube. But thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, sleep with us.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Yes.
Peace.